This video series chronicles our remote Alaska cabin development over the years. This episode will be about finding, visiting, and buying land for our cabin. The cabin is located on Mitkoff Island near the town of Petersburg, Alaska, on the shores of Frederick Sound. Frederick Sound is a part of the Pacific Ocean on the Inside Passage. It's a protected waterway extending from British Columbia through southeast Alaska. Frederick Sound's waters teem with krill and herring that attract salmon, humpback whales, orca, sea lions, and seals. The forested mountains are located within the Tongass National Forest, which is the largest national forest in the U.S. Our first episode details the purchasing of the land on which the cabin sits today. The decision to buy land in Alaska really started back 21 years ago. Let's go back to that fateful day. I had enough. Something in me snapped, or maybe more accurately, something broke free. I was fed up with bureaucrats, petty people, and seemingly constant irritations. It was death by duck. One duck nibbling at your flesh doesn't kill you, but millions of nibbling ducks can do real damage. I wanted out. In my state of mind, I, then and there, decided to buy a boat and travel the Inside Passage of Alaska, free from all ducks. The salt breeze in my face, the feel of freedom, the thought of it calmed me enough to begin action. In my evenings and weekends, I would search the internet for live-aboard boats capable of traveling the Inside Passage. Turns out live-aboard yachts can be expensive by mortal humans, or affordable, but reminded me of floating medieval prisons. And my wife noticed my wild-eyed look. I fessed up and rolled out my magnum opus plan. In all fairness, this was not the first time my wife had endured one of my harebrained schemes to move to Alaska. One evening, my wife, feeling sorry for my plight, began looking for boats too. She happened upon a boat listing for a 175-foot yacht boat on a boat broker's website. Let's look at it and see what we cannot afford. One click, and we found not a 175-foot yacht, but rather a description for a 1.75-acre oceanfront lot located on the Inside Passage of Southeast Alaska. Our eyes moved to the price of the not-a-boat oceanfront lot in Southeast Alaska, and it was kind of affordable. It was facing Frederick Sound on Mitkoff Island. So we Googled that term and found one could see humpback whales and orcas there. The island has one highway and some Forest Service roads on it. My wife reasoned that a boat is likely to depreciate, and this lot could be considered an investment that may appreciate over time. It was that last point that finally sunk home, and I was now on a new trail, that of a beachfront lot in Alaska. I found out that there was no road to the lot, but there is a road about 3/4 of a mile from the lot. It's a Forest Service road. One can get there from the closest town, which is Petersburg, Alaska, by boat or by driving to within 3/4 of a mile. However, those 3/4 of a mile are mostly muskeg. It is normally soggy with water, so that when one takes a step, you sink in a bit and squish water out of the plant material. Muskeg is important because it rains 130 inches a year on a steep hillside between the road and the lot. And without this natural sponge, erosion would be rampant. Instead, the water soaks into the muskeg, and in a terraced pattern, small pools of water collect on the hillside. After a number of emails between the owner and ourselves, my excitement was growing, and to my utter astonishment, so was my wife's. We researched the town of Petersburg and found it to be an authentic Alaska fishing village. It has an airport with jet service, and one can also arrive by boat, namely the Alaska Marine Highway ferries. I asked for the GPS coordinates for the lot, and it was arranged for the owner's friend to show us the property. It took all day to fly to Petersburg and didn't have much to eat that day. And when we arrived around 4 p.m. local time, Because it would be dark in an hour or two, our guide, who met us at the airport, urged us that we needed to get underway immediately. And we were loaded into the front seat of a small four-wheel drive pickup that fit two small Willy Wonka Oompa Loompas comfortably, but not three adults, with a small pug with muddy paws that thought it was great fun to run from one side to the other. Really, we began driving down what could best be described as a snow-covered trail. We passed cabin after cabin and then no more cabins. We had continued on the trail, now a small swath cut into the side of a rock cliff with a large drop on the other side. Eventually, the four-wheel drive pickup could claw its way no further when our guide announced, "We'll have to hoof it from here." I glanced down at the GPS and indicated that we still had 5 miles to go. Now recall that we only have 1 to 2 hours of usable daylight at this time, and the snow is knee-high. I was then informed by our guide that he was pretty sure the GPS coordinates provided by the owner were incorrect, and that we only had to walk about 1.5 miles through knee-deep snow with a muddy pug attached to our bodies at different locations at different times. At this point, it did occur to me that our guide could be an axe murderer and that we were being led to our grisly death. My wife was also hungry. It occurred to me that I might die at her hands first before the axe murderer got me. We struck out on foot in a manner reminiscent of the Donner Party. 3 adult humans and a closely attached pug. We reached the impenetrable bramble thicket. Now the pug decides that it can walk, and of course it can run through the undergrowth to taunt the humans that carried it. Somehow we eventually made it to the beach, and the view was awe-inspiring. After absorbing the natural beauty around us, we began looking for the lot corner markers. We walked down the beach a good measure and found the lot corner markers, and trees grow to much larger sizes than in most places. I saw tree stumps as large as a backhoe loader. I mentioned this to the guide, and he cheerfully said, "Well, that's not a problem." "What? No problem? What was this person talking about?" He went on to tell me that I could hire people to come over and cut clear a small opening for a cabin, and that they'd get there by this large landing craft capable of hauling large tracked backhoes that would be used to move the felled trees. We snapped some pictures, and too soon it was time to go before darkness would be setting in. The return trip started by retracing our steps through the impenetrable bramble thicket, ignoring the increasingly intense hunger pains and tromping through knee-deep wet snow in a drizzle. We did eventually make it back to the pickup, and the ride back into town was uneventful, another word for very quiet. The pug, after expending its energy, sat quietly too. It was nearing dark when we were dropped off at the hotel, tired, wet, and hungry. Then we set out to find a restaurant to fill our bellies. And when we found one, it was closed for the evening. We did, however, have one granola bar between us. Fearing this little tidbit would not prevent bodily harm to me, I returned to the hotel and was asked where I might find sustenance. They said we could order a pizza. I was saved. A hot pizza was delivered to our room, and it was quite tasty. Interestingly, it seemed to have medical powers, as my wife's ability to speak had returned to her. Maybe there is something to the claims that I have an Alaska obsession, but I'm still not sure where this obsession began. Perhaps it has always been with me, a part of my DNA, and I was born with it. The old nature-nurture question. Wilderness is found in abundance in Alaska, and I may have a part of my being that must have wilderness to be fulfilled. In retracing of steps through time, I cannot say why I have this passion for wilderness in Alaska. There is no singular event that stands out as the cause for my Alaska wilderness urge. I just have it, or rather, it has me. And that day at work, when something snapped and set me free, was the tipping point from dreaming to doing.